You remember when you were a kid and your parents would throw out that cardboard box, throw out those big cardboard boxes? Well, I remember to me that cardboard box was never trash. It was a spaceship, it was a castle, it was a race car, it was a secret hideout. And the broomstick was never just a broomstick. It was a sword or it was a magic wand or a fishing pole, something. You could stare at ants for 20 minutes and somehow never get bored. You could watch rain hit the sidewalk, think it was beautiful. Look up at airplanes and wonder, where are they going? You stare at the moon and ask questions nobody around you could answer. Everything felt huge, impossible, mysterious. Now, we walk around carrying the internet in our pocket, and somehow we've never seemed less amazed. Welcome to the Dread Report. Today's question isn't what's wrong with the world. Today's question is, when did we stop wondering? People love saying kids have such a great imagination. Yes, but really, kids have something that adults slowly lose: permission. Permission to ask dumb questions. Permission to be curious. Permission to fail. Permission to look stupid. Adults, we pretend we already know everything. Think about how many questions a child asks. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Can fish drown? Why do we dream? Those aren't dumb questions. They're philosophical questions. Questions humanity's been asking forever. Somewhere growing up became confused with stopping curiosity. Imagine if adults acted like children in museums. They walked slowly, looking closely, pointing, asking, learning. Instead, most adults rush through life like they're late to something that they'll never arrive at. One of the saddest moments about becoming an adult isn't paying bills. It's not going to work. It isn't responsibilities. It's the moment you stop looking around. Because once you stop noticing, life starts to feel repetitive. Not because it changed, because you did. Wonder isn't something children grow out of, but something adulthood quietly convinces us to abandon. When was the last time something stopped you in your tracks? Not entertained you, not distracted you, not impressed you. I mean, made you whisper like, wow. And if you can't remember when that was, why is that? Imagine trying to explain today's internet to someone from 1985. You tell them, there's this machine in my pocket that can show me every piece of human knowledge ever recorded. And they probably say, that's incredible. Then you'd continue, instead, I watched 17 videos of raccoons stealing dog food. I argued with people I'd never meet. I saw 3 ads for shoes I almost bought, and somehow I forgot why I'm on the app in the first place. We built the greatest library humanity has ever known, and somehow we spend most of our time wandering around the lobby. The internet didn't just change how we learn. It changed what gets our attention. And attention used to be earned. Now it's hunted. Every notification, every autoplay, every endless feed, every headline. They're all competing for one thing: your focus. Because your attention has become one of the most valuable things on earth. The longer you stay, the more money someone makes. Think about it. If an app can keep you scrolling for 10 extra minutes every day across millions of people, that becomes years of human life redirected. Not stolen with force, given away. Now, here's something that bothers me. We confuse access to information with understanding. We know more facts than any generation before us, but do we understand ourselves any better? We can name every planet, but do we stop and look at the night sky? We can identify hundreds of animal species with an app, but when was the last time you watched a bird long enough to notice how it moves? We know the distance from the Earth to the moon, but do we still feel awe when we see a moon rising over the horizon? Knowledge without reflection becomes trivia. Wonder turns knowledge into wisdom. The first time someone saw a color television, they were speechless. The first email, the first smartphone, the first video call. The first time you watched a car drive itself, amazing. For about 3 days. Then what happened? It becomes normal. Human beings adapt incredibly fast. It's one of our greatest strengths, but it can also become one of our greatest blind spots. Because when everything amazing becomes expected, nothing feels amazing anymore. Think about our entertainment. One episode isn't enough. We binge entire seasons in a weekend. One song isn't enough. We skip through hundreds of songs after 30 seconds. One notification isn't enough. It's like we're always climbing a mountain only to spend 5 minutes at the top and then ask, what's next? Maybe the problem isn't that life has become less interesting. Maybe we've become too efficient at consuming it. Sometimes I wonder how many beautiful moments I've almost missed because I was reaching for my phone. How many sunsets have become backgrounds instead of real experiences? How many laughs became clips instead of memories? Technology isn't the enemy. I use it every day. You're listening to this because of technology. But every tool asks a question. Who's using who? Am I using this technology to deepen my life? Or is it teaching me to skim across the surface? That's a question worth asking. Not because there's one perfect answer, but because the moment we stop asking, we stop paying attention. To my listeners, I want you to try something this week. Go outside for 10 minutes, no headphones, no music, no podcasts, no phone. Just walk. Notice the wind, the trees, the sounds you normally ignore. See if your brain starts asking questions again. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, most of us made a trade. We traded curiosity for certainty. We traded imagination for productivity. We traded exploration for efficiency. Nobody ever announced it. Nobody sat us down and said, starting tomorrow, stop asking big questions. It just happened. School rewarded us for having the right answers. Work rewarded us for getting things done. Life rewarded us for staying busy. Before long, wonder started to feel like a luxury instead of a necessity. Ask someone how they're doing. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say busy. Almost like it's a badge of honor. As if being overwhelmed proves that you're important or something. We become so busy surviving that we forgot to experience the life we're surviving for. Think about that. What's the point of building a life if you never stop long enough to actually live in it? When was the last time you sat outside without checking your phone? When was the last time you stared at the clouds? Not because you were waiting, but because you wanted to. These moments used to happen naturally. Now we schedule them, if we schedule them at all. Most people have seen thousands of sunsets, yet very few can describe why one sunset feels different from another. Most people eat every single day, but how many know where their food comes from? We interact with miracles until they become routines. Routine isn't the enemy. Taking routine for granted is. I don't think adulthood kills the child inside of us. I think adulthood buries them under responsibilities, bills, stress, expectations, deadlines, disappointment. But every once in a while, that child breaks through. You hear your favorite song from high school. You see shooting stars. You hold your newborn child. You stand at the edge of the ocean. And just for a second, you're 8 years old again. Not because you became immature, but because you're remembering something. Wonder was never childish. Wonder is what made childhood feel alive. Let's be honest. Being cynical is easy. It's easy to say nothing matters. It's easy to say everything's fake. Everything sucks. The world is doomed. Cynicism protects us. If you expect disappointment, you rarely get hurt. But here's the cost. Cynicism also blocks amazement because wonder requires vulnerability. To be amazed by something, you have to admit it surprised you. To learn, you have to admit that you don't know. And to grow, you have to accept that you were incomplete yesterday. That's uncomfortable, but it's also where life gets interesting. The opposite of ignorance isn't intelligence. It's curiosity. Intelligent people stop learning the moment they think they figured everything out. Curious people never stop becoming. Modern life rewards predictability. Predictable workers, predictable consumers, predictable opinions, routines. Sometimes they predict who you'll become. If every recommendation is based on who you were yesterday, when do you get the chance to become someone new? Wonder interrupts prediction. Wonder says, I never thought about it that way. That's dangerous. Not because it's rebellious, because it's freeing. Imagine if every week you deliberately learn something completely unrelated to your career. Astronomy, ancient civilizations, music theory, languages, architecture. Not because you'd make money, not because it would impress anyone, just because the universe is fascinating. Imagine how different your conversations would become. Imagine how much richer your inner circle would feel. Maybe fulfillment isn't found by narrowing our lives. Maybe it's found by expanding our curiosity. Here's a question I want you to carry with you. If your younger self met you today, would they think you've become wiser or just busier? Would they recognize the sense of wonder that once made you stop and ask important, impossible questions? Or would they wonder why you stopped asking them? Because maybe the goal was never to outgrow wonder. Maybe the goal was to bring it with us. What if I told you that stopping to watch a sunset is an act of rebellion? Because your attention has become valuable. Every second you aren't buying, scrolling, comparing, consuming, arguing, someone loses money. Think about that. Entire industries are built making sure you never experience silence. Because silence gives people something dangerous, their own thoughts. People always say companies just want your money. I don't think that's entirely true anymore. Money follows attention. Attention comes first. If someone can consistently capture your attention, the money eventually arrives. That's why every app wants notifications. That's why every video auto plays. That's why there are infinite feeds. That's why outrage spreads faster than nuance. Because outrage keeps you looking. Wonder doesn't. Wonder asks you to pause. Outrage asks you to react. One creates reflection, the other creates engagement. Guess which one's more profitable? Everything today feels so urgent. Breaking news, limited time offer, last chance, trending now. Right. But here's the question. How much of your daily life is actually urgent? Really? Not important, urgent. Most of us are living in a manufactured emergency. And when everything feels urgent, nothing feels meaningless. Wonder can't survive constant urgency. Wonder requires space. Have you ever looked at the stars and realized none of this is about us? The universe is billions of years old. Galaxies collide. Stars explode. Entire worlds are born and disappear without ever knowing we existed. There's something strangely comforting about that. Our problems matter, but they aren't everything. Sometimes the healthiest thing we can do is remember how beautifully small we are. Wonder shrinks the ego without shrinking your value. Look how kids act at the beach. They'll spend an hour studying one shell, one crab, one teeny hole in the sand. Adults, we're thinking about parking. We're thinking about traffic on the way home. We're thinking about what we're going to get for dinner. We're thinking about the email we forgot to answer. Children experience the moment. Adults manage it. There's a difference there. Wonder creates empathy because curious people ask questions. Wonder creates science because someone asks, what if? Wonder creates art because someone imagines something that didn't exist. Wonder creates friendships because someone cared enough to ask, tell me more about you. And wonder creates love because someone decided another human being was worth discovering forever. The world didn't become less beautiful. We became less available to notice it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and deciding today isn't about getting through it. It's about noticing it. The smell of coffee, The first breath outside, the clouds moving. I don't know why I'm having a thing with clouds right now, but the clouds moving. Just what keeps coming to mind. The kids asking impossible questions. Life isn't hiding these moments. They're everywhere. We just trained ourselves not to see it. One day, someone will see their last sunset, and they won't know it's the last one. Someone already hugged their mother for the final time. Someone already laughed with their best friend without realizing that memory would become precious. Life doesn't announce its important moments. It quietly hands them to us. Wonder is what keeps us awake enough to recognize them. The point of this episode was never to convince you that the world is beautiful. I'm pretty sure you already knew that. The point was to remind you that you're still capable of seeing it. Because I believe wonder isn't something you find, it's something you practice. Think about going to the gym. You don't get stronger by lifting one weight one time. You build strength by showing up. Wonder works the same way. The more you notice, the more you begin to notice. The more questions you ask, the more questions appear. Curiosity compounds. So does cynicism. Every day. And you're strengthening one of them. Your heart beats without asking permission. Your brain stores memories on its own. Your skin heals itself. You dream while you're unconscious. You can hear music and somehow it creates emotion. If an extraterrestrial species arrived today, they'd probably spend centuries studying things we complain about every day. Not because our problems aren't real, but because our existence is astonishing. We chase excitement. Wonder is different. Excitement is fireworks, and wonder is watching lightning in the distance. Excitement lasts minutes, and wonder can change your life. Maybe we've confused entertainment with amazement. One distracts you, the other transforms you. This might sound strange, especially because you're listening to content, but maybe you don't need another podcast. Maybe you don't need another reel, another documentary. Maybe you need a conversation, a long walk, a library, a bike ride with no destination, a campfire, a night where nobody reaches for their phone. Because wonder isn't downloaded, it's experienced. One day someone's going to remember you, but they're not going to remember your follower count. They're not going to remember the kind of phone you had. They're going to remember how you made them feel. Whether you listened, whether you laughed, whether you noticed things other people ignored, whether you inspired them to ask bigger questions. That's the real legacy. Not information, inspiration. A person who never loses their sense of wonder never truly grows old. Their body might age, but their soul keeps discovering. I want to leave you with something. Imagine your life as a book. Every chapter represents a year. Some years are painful, some years are joyful, some years are confusing. Some you wish you could rewrite. Now imagine reaching the final page. Would you rather say, I consumed everything, or I experienced everything I could? There's a difference. One fills your time, the other fills your life. This has been the Dread Report. And until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and never let the world convince you that wonder is something you were only meant to have as a child. Because the people who change the world are almost always the ones who never stopped asking what if.